Hello everybody, welcome back to Brilliant Pit Seasonal Wellness YouTube channel. It has been a minute. I am officially moved into a new home, so that is super exciting. We are going to get back into our monthly cadence here with our Capricorn Seasonal Wellness video. I'm so sorry to my Sagittarius that I missed you last month, but we will kind of incorporate a fusion of that energy definitely in this video. What you can expect in today's video is a symbolism roundup of Capricorn. If you're new here and you want to understand a little bit more about Capricorn itself as an archetype, this is going to be a really insightful video for you. I am also going to get into the astrology forecast for Capricorn season. So that is basically all of the transits happening in the sky from December 21st until January 19th when the sun enters Aquarius. And then lastly, I am going to conclude the video with a elemental tarot reading, meaning your sun sign element. I am going to do a tarot reading for all the four elements of fire, earth, air, and water. So definitely stay tuned for that. I will leave the timestamps below. Let's get into Capricorn symbolism. Okay, so Capricorn season is the sign in astrology that is representative of course, the winter solstice. So of course, with the winter solstice, we can come up with all of the symbolism that is the most obvious, which is of course, rest, and tending to yourself. This is a time where being at home and being at the heart of things, at the hearth of things in your life is the most supported. And the reason being is because winter is really the last step until we are in our renewal state. So in the winter time, it is really, really good, especially in the beginning season of winter, to get really intentional about our aspirations and get clear on what we want for our new renewed life, which is essentially springtime. So Capricorn is the cardinal earth sign of the zodiac, ruled by Saturn. So we have entered into the Saturnine time of year, which actually in ancient astrology is considered Capricorn season and Aquarius season. And basically this planet has a lot to do with, one would say, authority and restriction and time and these bigger systems of life that somewhat limit us. But I don't want to give you that as just the only symbolism that Saturn has for us. Saturn also is the bounder of the threshold, meaning it was the planet in ancient astrology that was sitting at the farthest end of the solar system. And so it was the farthest thing we could see. So what it represented to us was this kind of border, this threshold to the ethereal. And when you think about rest and sleep, you go to sleep and it is kind of the gateway into your dream state, your dream world. And I think as a whole, what a Saturn time can give for us is clarity, but also creativity and a deeper understanding of our inner creative drive and why we're inspired by something, our soul's drive to really engage with life as we know it and why we value certain things in life. You guys know I'm a note taker, so I'm going to read some of the notes that I also wrote down when I was meditating on Saturn Earth cardinal symbolism. Capricorn comes at the time Sagittarius ends. This mutable fire sign can feel disoriented at 29 degrees. We enter into the official system of winter time, dreaming, mindfulness, and aspirational. So that's exactly what I'm really talking about here. And a new kind of insight I had this month when I was kind of diving deep into this subject is that the sun being at 29 degrees of Sagittarius is actually the strongest moment for our solstice times. And it's the same thing with Gemini being at 29 degrees. That area has a strong potency. And I've never really thought about it in that way before, but when you think about kind of the sun about to enter or about to be at the solstice moments, we are at the utmost of what we were just coming from. So for instance, with the sun being at 29 degrees of Sagittarius, that is obviously of utmost darkness. the sun is still falling in that moment. But then once the sun hits 0 degrees Capricorn, the sun is now rising again. And it's the same thing when we are at the Gemini and Cancer cusp. So I just find that area, and especially just now that we're in the flow of Capricorn season, we have just entered. I'm actually coming to you on a Monday, the 30th. I hopefully will get this up today. But today is the day of the new moon. So it feels very appropriate to kind of talk about the intentions of Capricorn and the aspirations in that way. But I thought that was a really cool insight. Maybe it has triggered something in you recently with the sun being at 29 degrees of Sagittarius. I want to know your experience in that. Maybe leave a comment if you had anything disorienting happen, or if you could feel just that energy of utmost darkness during that time. Another note I wrote here: the beginning finale of the life cycle as Capricorn season. The very essence of Capricorn is opposition, the sea goat being both of the land and water. They may find their dedications to be more about their own success or more about those closest to them, but either way, their dedication is ever present. So I said a couple of things here that I'll unpack. I'm a little bit messy and I guess disoriented while we're talking about it when it comes to taking notes. Sometimes in these meditations, I just like to kind of grasp what I'm picking up on. So the beginning of the finale of the life cycle is basically speaking to the beginning of winter, but at the end of winter, Pisces season, 29 degrees of Pisces, same thing with those equinox moments. When we are about to enter Aries season, that I would say that area, 29 degrees of Pisces to 0 degrees of Aries, is going to be that end, the end of the life cycle, because one new is now beginning. And because it's a circle and it just keeps going, it's like when something ends, something new is rising and beginning again. So I find that the beginning of the end is very Capricornian. Now, the very essence of Capricorn being all about opposition is actually a Saturn theme. Now, I did mention that Saturn, being at the edge of the solar system, really did represent to a lot of people that this was like the gateway to the unknown. But at the same rate, what's very interesting also about Saturn and its association, even though far, far away from us, has a very heavy association with Earth and the Sun and the Moon. If you think about the opposite of Saturn-ruled signs, which would be Capricorn and Aquarius are the Saturn-ruled signs. So when you think about the opposite, that would be Cancer and Leo. And what are the ruling planets of Cancer and Leo? The Moon and the Sun. And so I've found that even in my own little cycle, my own little wheel that I've drawn out, where I was coming up with the themes of every sign, the one word that describes every sign, there's an interesting correlation that the Saturn is the very opposite of the Sun and Moon. And what can that play out as? If you think very symbolically, psychologically, deeply about that very sentence or sentiment, Saturn being the opposite of the Sun and the Moon makes that show up on Earth as just opposition in general, right? Because this Earth has these cycles very connected with the Moon, and the Sun is the giver of life and vitality. So it's almost like Earth itself is a product of the Sun and the Moon. So when you think about Saturn being the opposite and representing kind of the opposite of those two things that give us life, it's interesting because you can think of it in so many ways. But at the end of the day, it's, I guess, the variance in life that causes opposition, that causes conflict, but also possibly goes beyond our understanding and has a sort of a meaning and a structure to life that we can't really put our finger on because it's possibly connected to something outside of our consciousness. That is probably the best way I could describe Saturn in kind of this newer light, rather than just saying that Saturn is all about lessons and authority. Of course it is, because that's how opposition shows up in our life. But at the core of it, I think Saturn has access to something outside of our consciousness, and therefore it comes into our life in a very strong manner, and that just has to do with its archetypal themes of stoicism and melancholy and having a seriousness around it because of what we associate opposition and conflict with. But it's all true. And when you think about Capricornian people and kind of a stoic nature in all of them and this kind of determination with all that they do, it's very interesting to see how that plays out in real life in people. Another kind of little symbolism I wrote down of Capricorn is the magic or detriment of themes like time, creativity, dedication, systems, and hierarchy, which is very, very interesting. So the magic or detriment, and I think what I am really talking about here is like two sides of a spectrum. You have magic on one spectrum that's very much like idealistic and beautiful, whimsical magic, what we would consider magic. And then on the other end, you have detriment, which is almost like despite your intention is the opposite force coming in. But when you think about life and what makes up life, all opposites exist within each other at all times. So if you could wave a magic wand and receive $1 million for yourself, you might have the same experience bring you detriment in some way, because maybe that's just your way of growing through the wish and it grants you this, but then it comes with this. And almost, I won't say almost, everything in life exists with a yin and yang kind of spectrum. And at the core of it, that is exactly what Saturn represents, is there's good in every bad thing and there's bad in every good thing. The levels may be disbalanced in some respects, but it all exists within each other. And also our context of good only exists because of what we know is bad. And the same goes for the other. And I think all of these are Saturn themes. And when I say time, creativity, dedication, systems, and hierarchy, I'm really speaking to kind of the more of the archetype. I think Saturn is often overlooked as like just more of a serious and stoic planet, and the rulership with Capricorn can be very much more serious, which is interesting because when you think about Aquarius, the other Saturn ruled sign, it's kind of not the opposite, but Saturn comes through in a different way in Aquarius, as we all know. But it doesn't mean that the seriousness doesn't exist in Aquarius, as much as it doesn't mean that the out-of-the-box, quirky, really out there thinking isn't solely just an Aquarius thing. It also exists in Capricorn, yet the seriousness might just show a little bit more in Capricorn. So all of that is to say that I think all of these things exist with Capricorn, meaning the creativity, what you would normally think of as Aquarian, this out-of-the-box thinking, these like advancements where you want to achieve your goals, but you also want to be out of the box and different and unique. You want to differentiate and be opposite, right? There's a more creative way of going about that in Aquarius season, but it still exists with Capricorn. And the way it exists, I think, is just a lot more grounded and centered because we're talking about an earth sign. So their aspirations might come through in dreams versus aspirations being lived through in their actions and their motivations as an Aquarius person. I think Capricorn has this great capacity for dreaming, and they come off serious when they try to reach that goal because they will, and they're determined and they have the willpower to make it happen actually. So it's more about how serious one is about something when it comes to Capricorn season, because as long as you're serious about it and you want to make it work, it will happen. And it's kind of that same access to that dream that Aquarius has, but it's a lot more real. It's like, let's make this a reality. It's almost like scarier to approach a Capricorn about making something happen because it will happen. it's almost like they'll make it happen, but an Aquarius person might be a little bit more idealistic about it and think a lot through the strategy and the patterns in which it could play out. But a Capricorn is determined to make something happen, and that's also the beauty of them. Okay, so we are just about to get into the forecast for Capricorn season. So as you know, I'm coming to you a little bit late this month, but we're going to just get right into it with the transits that you can expect during the month of Capricorn season, which is December 21st through January 19th. But before we get into it, I'm sure some of you know that I have a little Etsy shop and I sell happy birthday cards, and we have Capricorn season's birthday card. So I wanted to show you before it goes live. I am really obsessed with this one. It had a lot of my heart into it. I feel like I have a lot of access to Capricorn themes because of my Cancer sun and moon, and I just love how I kind of went about this. So I'll explain the design a little bit. Of course, we have the goat to represent the archetype of Capricorn. The skull and the crystal here represent death and the ending. I said the beginning of the finale. We're at the ending of the life cycle. So this is representative of that. The flowers behind are Capricornian ruled. You can see kind of the Earth's crust like cracking here, if you can see that. I'm not sure if you can. So the Earth's cracks right here. And then of course we've got a mountain with a light on top, which is very much about the determination that Capricorns have, the legacy building, the biggest outer representation, aspirations. We've got the sun-moon opposition represented here. Saturn, of course, with the constellation in the middle. And then we have a gateway here, which is representative of that threshold that I keep talking about. And of course, a woman sleeping plus time, of course. So all of the Capricornian themes here. I am probably going to get this up on Etsy within the next week. So stay tuned for that. I'm so excited for this design. And of course, I have 2 more to go until I have the whole set of happy birthday cards for every zodiac sign. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this project. Let me know in the comments if you love these cards just as much as I do. I am obsessed with them. All right, so let's get into the forecast for Capricorn season. Other than the sun entering Capricorn on the 21st, which has already passed, on the 24th, we had a Jupiter square to Saturn. So I'm not sure if any of you kind of felt that energy around Christmas Eve. The Jupiter-Saturn square is telling a story from the time of December of 2020 when they were conjunct. So if there have been any themes around 2020, what was going on in your life around the same time in 2020, around Christmas time, that would be really interesting to note, because whatever this is being brought back to life. And these are huge structural systems, right? Like you could have set an intention around that time and now it looks completely different, but maybe it's led you in a way that was for your best interest, even if maybe your intention wasn't all the way there. So these are just things to look out for and definitely take note of. On December 30th, which is today, we have a new moon in Capricorn. So happy Capricorn season. I would consider the new moons kind of that moment where you are seeding, you are understanding your intention, and you are basically trying to grow something, whether it's an idea, your intention, or anything along those lines. On January 2nd, we have Venus entering Pisces. So this is a new, fresh energy. Venus is in Aquarius right now. So we have a lot of attraction and we have value in things that are very much aspirational, out of the box, unique, individualistic. We are being drawn to now. At this time on January 2nd, it's going to be more about what we find spiritually, our spiritual inclinations to. So you might find that you want a different routine around this time that is supportive of your goals. That's very much a thing around January 1st, and that's no surprise because the wintertime zodiac signs are all related to aspirations and things along those lines. On January 6th, we have Mars retrograde entering Cancer. So this was something that started in the summer, and then it went into Leo, and now it is retrograding back into Cancer. So any themes from the summer might be coming up, anything that has to do with kind of your will and your ability to nurture. Opposing forces there, but that's because Mars is in its detriment in Cancer. So keep an eye out for that. It's not the most easy transit to deal with. On January 8th, Mercury moves into Capricorn. So this is really good news because Mercury is actually in its fall, in its detriment in Sagittarius. So it's in an uncomfortable place in Sagittarius. So once it enters Capricorn, it's going to feel a lot more easy to communicate and a lot more structured to communicate around that day. So definitely, if you're a business owner and you are waiting for kind of a moment where you have clarity, enough clarity to really like make a decision, that's going to be a really good time to do so. On January 13th, we have the full moon in Cancer. So that is happening in the first kind of half of January, and then the sun enters Aquarius on the 19th. So that there is the forecast for Capricorn season. I hope you guys enjoy that. Let me know if this was helpful. I would love to know if knowing the forecast and knowing like a little bit of detail about each kind of transit helps you in any way. Please leave a comment and let me know so I can make this better in next month's video. All right, so we are on to the tarot reading for all signs, and this tarot reading is going to be organized into elements. So I am actually going to do fire signs first, earth signs next, air signs after that, and then water signs last. So definitely check the timestamps because I will be putting the timestamps for each of the elements, and we will just get right into fire signs. Okay, so we are talking to my Aries, my Sagittarius, and my Leos right now. You have the Queen of Cups reversed, the Five of Cups reversed, and the Knight of Wands. So I feel like this upright would be very much about having an intuitive decision to discontinue something, or understanding that something might not be as inspiring to you anymore. I think that with the Knight of Wands reversed, upright, this is a card that is very much wanting to move forward and has a lot of inspiration and good ideas. And almost like is supplying that energy to push forward. Now reversed, with the Queen of Cups reversed and the Five of Cups reversed, it's almost like there's something lost. It's either lost inspiration or it is lost as in there could be something that you thought was happening, but it is either missed or has not worked out. But one of the bright sides of the Five of Cups reversed is that something that you thought was over might not be over. When it's reversed, you can tell that obviously the tipped over cups are now, I guess, in a sense, upright. And there's actually more upright cups now than flipped over cups when it's reversed. There's almost like, it's kind of like a silver lining energy where it's like you, I think, were hoping for this inspiration or this opportunity, but I don't think it's lost, honestly. When I flip these over upright, there's this idea that you could be using your emotions to their detriment. But when upright, if you kind of are able to them into inspiration and not so much thinking your way or feeling your way into, well, it's not what I exactly wanted. It's different. It looks different and it's not happening in the time stamp that I want it to happen. if you can harness that emotion into something that's a little bit more inspiring, and to me this means like movement through like action and movement and creativity, just doing things, like instead of ruminating, do and take action. That's where I could see all of these upright. And then it's more about just getting this emotion to not hold you back from this and trudging forward with fire and inspiration and intensity, good intensity. So yeah, I would say that's an interesting reading. But if I had to give you one kind of thing that the tarot is telling you to do, it would be to take creative action instead of ruminating over something that could have happened that wasn't really ideal or wasn't really expected or didn't happen in the way that you wanted it to happen. This is more about really taking that lead to get yourself out of that feeling of emotion and instead focus on the things that make you feel invigorated and inspired. So, all right, Aries, all right, my fire signs, thank you so much for listening to this reading, and I will see you in next month's video. Okay, my earth signs, we are talking to Taurus, Capricorn, and Virgo. We had 4 cards, all reversed, and we have we have the 8 of Swords reversed, Justice reversed, the Sun reversed, and the 10 of Swords reversed. Wow. I'm seeing an immediate correlation with, if all of this were upright, I'd be able to tell you that the Sun and Justice are wanting to make something right. But reversed, it's almost like you can't see it because there's something that feels like it is holding you stuck in a place, or something has been way too off balance and it's giving you anxiety, to a point where you feel like you could be at an all-time low, like a rock bottom kind of moment. But there is kind of a saving grace here, and the trump cards being the Sun and the Justice card reversed indicate to me that you are actually going to be you're going to be at the end of injustice now being in your favor. Like there could have been something not justified that has happened to you, and now you are actually going to get the reward of, you're now going to have the chance to have somebody else make that right, or reap the rewards of injustice done to you. So there is a feeling of stuckness in Capricorn season. Like it's either you feel really anxious and stuck and like defeated by something that had to do with injustice or had to do with something that wasn't fair, balanced, right. And it is making you feel stuck. Although these 2 cards together might not actually be what you think they mean. The Sun card, even when reversed, can be sometimes the most positive. It's just that you can't see it. And actually, the 10 of Swords, is that right? 10? The 10 of Swords reversed actually can indicate that you are now on the kind of pathway to healing, because the swords are now coming out of your back when it is in the reversed position. So when we are taking in this into context with the 9 of Swords and Justice reversed, it's making me feel like there has been something that was wrongly done to you is what I'm getting from it, but it could be just wrongly done, period. Or it could be something you did wrong. I don't think that's the case though. And it's making you feel anxious because there's kind of this lack of hope and this feeling of like hitting rock bottom. But there's something ending with that feeling. Like you are now, it did come to me with this, in this way. So the injustice was done. The anxiety is here. The like debilitating anxiety. But the Sun and the 10 of Swords represent kind of the ending of suffering and the ending of something that felt non-justified, or it is now being returned back into your favor, if that makes any sense. So earth signs, I can sense that there's anxiety and just a little bit of maybe the unknown. You can't see clearly, something was done wrong and you don't know how it's going to play out. But there's something here that is basically saying have hope. Look to kind of the light in this circumstance and know that you are on now the pathway to healing. This has no indication of like it's all over, you know. It's the Ten of Swords reversed really does represent things being already at rock bottom, so it's like you can only go up from there. So I hope that gave you clarity. I hope that this is accurate to you and you feel that I have given you maybe some insight from the divine on this situation here during Capricorn season for my earth signs. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you in next month's video. All right, my air signs. Hello, Aquarius, Libra, and Gemini. I have your 3 cards here, and it is the Emperor, the Queen of Wands, and the Fool. The Emperor is reversed, and the Fool is also reversed. Okay, so there's an immediate sense of kind of authority and like a power dynamic with authority that I'm getting with this. On one hand, it feels as though you are lacking some sort of structure, some sort of authority in your life, whether it's with your finances, with your sense to lead, with your, I guess your sense of longevity somewhere or in something. You're lacking, or you at least feel like you're lacking the structure around that or the authority around that. And with this, there's kind of a sense of like, you might feel just not confident to move forward. Like you don't have all the tools in the toolbox to understand something correctly, this structure, this some sort of structural system, and you feel held back, or you feel like you shouldn't take a step forward, especially if it's a risk, especially if it's something that makes you feel inspired, but it's also risky. But there is a sense here that like your personal power, your personal is actually the power here. So however that resonates with you, it's kind of like the Fool card to me is very much the Queen of Wands taking action in a new thing. So if there's a reversed kind of Queen of Wands with the reversed Fool, to me that's very much like you are kind of supposed to take action, but maybe you don't feel like you have the structure behind it to make that informed, smart decision. But there is a sense here that like you have everything that you need to do that, to do whatever this is. You might feel disorganized, like disorganized in terms of taking this action, but all that really needs to be done is for you to sit down and passionately and thoroughly go through what needs to be organized, and then you can take that step forward. That could be a variable, right? That could be a possible outcome. Another possible outcome is that your authority in this sense is actually the thing, your lack of authority is holding you back from taking the next step forward. So that could also be a possibility. Like your structure is the thing, the way you have structure is the thing that is causing you to not live your life to the fullest. So this month, I would recommend that you really sit deeply with kind of your sense of structure, your sense of how you get things done, how you structure your days, like whatever this thing is that you're thinking about right now as I'm talking to you, really try to refine the foundations of that, because I think that that could be holding you back in a serious way. Not so much like you're holding yourself back. It's more like this thing is actually holding you back from taking a step forward. So when you figure that out, I think the Queen of Wands is the representation of what you will feel like, what you will be like when this is figured out and you are able to do this upright. So let me know if that resonated with you for Capricorn season, or if you are listening into this now and you find that you're coming back to this after Capricorn season and it was really accurate for you. Definitely leave a comment, because I would love to know how exactly this resonated. So thank you again so much for watching another seasonal wellness video, and I will see you next month. Bye. Okay, so this reading is for my water signs for Capricorn season. This is Pisces, Scorpio, and Cancer. So we have a very interesting little layout here. We have 3 of Wands upright, the Star card, and the Strength card reversed. Okay, so as a water sign myself, I can tell that this time of year, it is really easy to go inward, and it's really easy to get kind of wrapped up in yourself and what you want for your life during this time. And it's kind of like that sense of hoping, that sense of like there's something else out there and I want to achieve it, is kind of the vibe that I'm like trying to convey here. It's interesting because with the 3 of Wands, you're like ready to take that on. But I'm getting the sense that this pure, I guess, inkling to really think thoroughly about your goals for the year, for the new year, is actually not supportive for you right now, actually. And the reason for that is because as much as resolutions and goal setting is positive, it can somewhat, especially for sensitive people, make you feel like, well, this goal thing is never ending. And if I haven't achieved this yet, how is it gonna happen now? Like, that's the sense I'm getting with these cards. And you have to understand it, in the middle of this layout, we have the Star card reversed. And not all cards reversed actually mean like the opposite or like the negative part of it. There are certain cards that actually still have this positive message when they're reversed, and the Star is one of them. And the Star is all about your sense of hope and your self-belief in yourself. Like how you believe in yourself is the Star card. And having that kind of futuristic view that things are going to turn out okay is what the Star card represents. So with the 3 of Wands being kind of this, like, the world is ahead of me, I have all of these goals to achieve, I'm seeing this actually take away the thing that could be your key to success, which is your sense of letting things happen as they would. I'm getting a big sense to like really let go of your control over things, and to not like take that so self-value driven, if that makes any sense. Like, it's almost like you achieving something would give you a sense of self-completion and self-fulfillment, but that's not really what is true. What is true is the fact that you wanting more for your life is always positive, but in a context where it could be more of a sensitive subject, where like you're just at a chapter in your life where you have to do certain things that don't really feel like you have success, even though that's not the case. You are successful, but it just feels like not where you want to be. That's actually detrimental to your growth. And so the message here is a bit more like big picture, right? But it's the idea that be careful with goal setting. Be careful with seeing a time of goal setting and resolution. Be careful not to totally dismantle what you have gone through in order to get to where you are now by doing that. That could be taking away kind of this sense of strength that you have to just let things be and let things pan out as they would. And instead, it might allow you to control more or be more controlling of your outcomes and have more force when it comes to what you want to achieve. And that's not the way that I think you want to go about it. So be careful with goal setting this year. It might just make sense to really just be grateful for everything that has happened for you and to take all of that in and be like, wow, let me just let go, because my control is not going to, my force and my control is not going to get me to this goal faster. So I hope that helped you, my water signs, for Capricorn season. Please let me know if it did help you, or if you're coming back to this reading at the end of Capricorn season and it was really accurate to your past month. Please let me know in the comments. I would love to know if these tarot readings are resonating. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you next month. Bye.